Again, apologies. I think it is Restream having a few issues going on. We're trying to. Hopefully everything will be sorted out this time, and hopefully we won't have to go to a third time's a charm. But we are back. We'll have to wait and see if it works out this time. But from what everybody saw of the sprint race, hopefully it was exciting. We had some big swings in the championship, as we spoke about just before we had the quick restart. Well, I can't remember the points everybody got. If we get the old whiteboard out that we had previously, who should we think about? Scott got 2 points, so he will move on to 95. Sprout stays on 83. Ewatts goes to 80. Oh, no. Ewatts goes to 87. Dark Viper goes to 81. And then we can pretty much discount Dragonfly's Damien B-Roy. So it is now from 7 down to 4. That's going to make things very, very interesting. Scott, we thought he was going to be safe with that margin, but with Dark Viper doing so well and Ewatts doing so well, not quite as safe as we first imagined.
Well, that safe is 14 points, which in terms of what you're looking at, okay, if Dark Viper goes out and puts the world alight, says 25 points, you got G-Watts flying, going to be down to Pro 8, really. Say, can I close down 12? It's going to be very difficult. I still think F1 got to have a mare in order to put that into a situation, but the way everything's set up right now, it's Pro 8 versus Dark Viper. G-Watts pace, I think, is just going to keep him safe with the way that he's running today. So that's where the main focus is. I think F1 Scott doesn't have as much to worry about, maybe as some people think they do, but it's not impossible.
Well, if we look at, so it's a 14-point advantage between Scott and Dark Viper. So if we look at the standings quickly and the points total, Scott needs to finish in, I believe, P5 to confirm that he will be in the playoffs. Yes, 14 points exactly for P5. So he needs to get 5th place. He should have the pace to do it. It's if he comes into a few dramas, because we saw he got a penalty for corner cutting, which I think we're going to see a few more. If we got so many in a 13 lap race, I think we're going to have even more in an 18 lap race. And you've got to bear in mind as well, people could absolutely fumble one-shot qualifying as well. That's going to be very interesting to see what goes on. Like you said, probably going to discount Dragonfly's Damien and B-Roy, who I don't think picked up any points. Dragonfly's picking up no points as well is 31 points back. So yeah, Dragonfly's is done. Damien, I think, will probably be done as well. Yeah, straight away, we've had 3 of the contenders kicked out.
It happens that quick, especially consider there are just so few points together on the board for them. So now you sit down and go, okay, well, what is actually left here? You've got a case where Dark Viper's just got to get 2 over Spro 8, and then we've got to start talking about count back, but 3 would be perfectly ideal for him. But then you really get the sense that it takes one issue like they had on lap 2 of the race for everyone to go, well, hang on a minute, this isn't going to be a race that is going to be in line for everyone. It can so easily on a track that can be twisted here, like this one, a track where you can have that accordion effect that we saw in the opening race. You can chop your front wing off. You can get yourself caught up in an instant at the roadblock. It's not impossible, and because of that, everybody will be looking around at everyone else going, please, can we just have a plain and simple race where it's going to be about pace? I don't think we're going to see that.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see. It's interesting, though, isn't it, the dynamic with front wing damage, because we saw Dale change his front wing early on. We saw most drivers stay out. We've seen a bit of a split. Sometimes if you get a little bit of front wing damage, it doesn't affect you too badly, and people do try and carry on. That is probably courtesy to the limited downforce you already have in a Formula 2 car. That could be interesting to see. It's going to get very tasty. We've got 3 drivers battling it out. Scott currently has an 8-point buffer to G-Watts, a 12-point buffer to Sprout in 5th. Pressure's going to be on Scott. I think this one-shot qualifying session will tell us a lot about how Scott is feeling. Is there anyone in particular you want to ride on board with for one-shot quality? Hopefully, we do not have the slideshow production quality that we had previously with the issues Restream was having.
I think we've got to go on board with Pro 8. I think that's going to be the lap that decides is the gate to the playoffs is on the top 5 position in 5 is qualifying, sets the seat for everybody else around.
I think that's a good shout. Had a disastrous sprint race. The first corner, I mean, typical for him, unfortunately enough, as struggled a bit in sprint recently. Got called out in turn number 1, or turn 2 technically, because you got the kink as you go over the start-finish line. Fell back to last, couldn't really recover, ended up, I think it was 13th in the end, no points there. And would only pick up 2 points in the main race as well. So pressure's on Sproat, been in the playoffs for the majority of the season, I think. Maybe the last 4 or 5 races has been comfortably inside those playoffs. With the form of GWATS, the form of Dark Viper, that's suddenly become a little bit sketchy for the Invicta rivalry. We could see a civil war brewing between the 2 Invicta cars. They've already come together once at Singapore a few races ago. Now they're battling for a playoff spot. That could get very, very interesting, that teammate dynamic.
It can, and when you've got that situation where you got 2 drivers out there looking for 1 place, doesn't matter if you're a teammate or not. It's a case of you win and you are in. It is a case of the alliances do not matter anymore when you realize, hang on a minute, only one of us is going to get in. I would much rather it be me. So we're really getting that sense of, okay, Dark Viper is flying. It might be a case where Dark Viper puts himself in the right position. But you got to look around. You got F1 Scott, you got GWATS, you got Spro8. They're all there. They've all got a margin. But it takes one wrong move, especially when you got max points on offer here. It takes one wrong move, and you got someone who you thought was absolutely flying in. Suddenly, they're on the curb.
Absolutely. And obviously, we don't have an official Constructors' Championship battle, but obviously those 2 teammates would be the closest of all. Should we talk a little bit about F1 Alex? Currently on 109 points. Is, I believe, safe. Yes, definitely safe. F1 Alex. Didn't have a great sprint race. Picked up, I think it was 1 point with the battle on the final lap from GB and Dragonflies. That would be his place officially confirmed. So for the 2nd season in a row, we will be seeing F1 Alex in the playoffs. We're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, jump back onto the... jump back over to see if we have improved. We'll have to wait and see. Get a good gauge on this one-shot quality lap, unless it could just be that Restream is having a few issues. Sproat, you wanted to ride on board with. Do you want to take us through it, if we can catch it?
Absolutely do. And Spro8 is the sort of driver who needs to be on the level here with his one-shot qualifying. This is a really big lap, and you always try and set it up by straight lining here through onto the start of that lap, through the small left kink of turn 1, and now you start to think about, what do you have? Tamburello is going to be important. The left, the right, and then the left. No lap for Tom. He's gone the wrong way. But then you got to run. It's a short shoot run towards the Villeneuve chicane. It's a fast entry in, and then it tightens up to 90 degrees. You've got to slow it down for the second part, and then over towards Toza, which is a tough hairpin. You got to get the drive off of the exit, but not too early, because if you're too early off of the exit of the corner, then you're going to really struggle with trying to put the brick down. You can easily spin to the inside, over the crest right, and Piratella plateaus, left-hander, back down the hill, and you need all the commitment and downforce in the world through this section. Aqua Minerale, turning and braking at the same time, the toughest skill out there for drivers, the trail brake, and then back up the hill again. You're always trying to carry as much speed as you can. Then you've got the curve of Grassini, the former Variante Alta, the big sausage curve, absolutely distract you every way which goes. Spro8 looks great at the moment. P4 currently in terms of pace. He's got what he wants out of this qualifying session. Down the hill though, it can all go wrong at Ravazza, and he's just about on the level as he goes through. He'll drop a little bit of time there, not able to get it to the curb through the first part, but through the second part, he's got what he wants. Now it's all about power. Make that drive to the line. It's a 126.6, and that's good enough for P5.
Interestingly enough, though, we said it was a good lap, but the main challenges that Sproat's got to beat finished ahead of him. Dark Viper was P3, and I think GWATS ended up taking pole position. We can see that there. Dark Viper actually over the line in second. GWATS continuing that strong form, takes pole. Brilliant stuff there from the Virtuoso. We only had 13 lap times set in the end. Dark Viper on the front row. Those guys need to not crash into each other. That would be a disaster. Adam Sanson ahead of F1X. Adam Sanson's form of late has been absolutely outstanding. B-Roy in 6th, ahead of Matty D13, then Damien, Dirt Chocolate, Hoodie Pete rounding out our top 10. Luke Halleck in 11th, ahead of the 2 Downs drivers. These are the drivers that failed to get a timing. Crucially, Dragonflies, it's probably game over. F1 Scott as well. Everything's been turned up on its head. This could be very, very interesting. If people in the chat, thank you, Gareth, for letting us know that it seems a bit better if everyone else can try and confirm that for us also, and then we can carry on with our day, hopefully. But yeah, F1 Scott invalidating. That's a big moment.
It is, but he's safe at the moment by 2 points. If they were to finish in exactly the same place they make their qualifying effort in, Pro8 has got to gain 1 place, and then he will tie on points with F1 Scott on 95. So this is a big thing for F1 Scott. He's just got to get to the top 10. That's his goal. Pro8, top 3, I think might just sneak him in at this point. But when Dark Viper's up there, when G-Watts is proving he's got pace, those two drivers are making charges when it matters.
Very interesting. Scott making heavy weather of this. He was in a really good spot in the sprint race. I think he was P5, got overtaken, fell down to 6th, ended up 7th. That's a couple of points that were lost. Now has made a mess of one-shot quali. I said before, this is going to see how well he's coping with the potential pressure on his shoulders. Maybe not very well. We've seen Scott do very well in the feature races. That's really been where his strengths have been. Gonna have to show it again. Fight his way through the field. Everyone he's sort of in order, but you've got the likes of Dale towards the back. Tom down there as well, not staying a time. I think GB also was at the back of the pack. I'll have to wait and see what goes on. This is going to be very interesting. It's been flipped on its head, and I, for one, am all for it. It is still 4 from 3 battling for those 2 playoff spots.
Yeah, and so when you realise that there's going to be one driver on the side who's going to be looking in, you've got to start wondering, what do you do? G-Watts is out there, and we're getting that difference in terms of strategy here. G-Watts starting on the super soft, so too is F1 Alec, and Matty and Dirk, and then pretty much everyone 14th on back going on the super soft to start. Everyone else on the medium. So we are going to get that dynamic of a few drivers jumping through. It might be difficult to start, but watch out for those charging back through at the end of this race. I think that's where it's going to be key, and where we're going to see the likes of Dark Viper come into his own, the likes of Pro8 come into his own. So that's where you're really going to keep an eye out on that focus of who is going to get what.
Yeah, G-Watts on the super soft tyres. Very interesting. Obviously looking to bolt away as quickly as possible. We'll have to see how that works with Dark Viper and Adam Sanson on the mediums behind. I think we may be still having a few issues with the stream quality. Have to wait and see. It's bad. We can get maybe a very quick restart in before we get going. We've got maybe a minute before we kick off once again. So if it does look bad, then get in there straight away.
There is opportunity, though, for all of these drivers. They realise now that it's about pace, about what they do. Obviously, technically, can't really help here, ladies and gentlemen. They do happen, and sometimes we do just have to sit there and deal with it for a little bit. We'll try and get as much as we can through, but the G-Watts, safe. For Dark Viper, it's almost as perfect for qualifying as you could imagine.
Right, we are still lagging, so with Restream, we're going to do 3rd time's a charm. We're going to stop again very quickly to try and get ready for the start of the race. 15-second break and we'll be back. Apologise once again. Nothing we can really do about it, unfortunately, but hopefully 3rd time's a charm as everyone lines up on the grid. So we'll be back in just